Welcome to Rheminiscing. I am Dr. Tony Rhem, where we explore artificial intelligence, past, present, and the possible. Today, we're bringing you Chris Bosco, an executive with Act Digital Consulting, where we will talk about fractional executives can be a great solution in implementing successful AI solutions. Today, my guest, an amazing guy, right? Chris Bosco of Act Digital. And before we get into our conversation about fractional executives, let me introduce you to this amazing person I got here. Chris Bosco is the CCO. Chris, tell me what a CCO is.
We coined it Chief Commercial Officer.
Chief Commercial Officer. I want to make sure I get those initials right.
Yep.
He's responsible for developing innovative new Act Digital consulting products and services while leading the overall marketing, sales, and go-to-market strategies. His role involves driving revenue, growth, and ensuring the success of commercial offerings. That's a huge undertaking. As the executive principal, he is also, get this, also a fractional executive, assisting clients to succeed by utilizing his experience over 25 years of executive leadership. Fantastic. In digital commerce, social strategy, complex technology, delivering operations, business and change transformation, product development, and planning. Welcome to Reminiscing.
I appreciate that. And I thank Gemini AI for that wonderful introduction that I put together. Yeah. It's great to be here, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Just the level set, everybody. I've been knowing Chris for a couple of years. I'm also actually working with Act Digital as a fractional executive. But today, Chris, as being an expert in this field and actually having experience as a fractional executive, tell me, what exactly is that, and what are some of the things that you're currently doing as a fractional executive?
Yeah, it's amazing. When we started this about 3 years ago, the fractional executive term was relatively new in the market, and it understood and matched what we were trying to do. And for us, what it meant was having the ability to provide the type of experience of a 25, 30-plus year individual like yourself that's been in that C-suite or an executive position that really still wants to do. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to get involved in a project, in executing and helping an organization in that role, but that doesn't necessarily mean they want to take it as a full-time job again, a titled role, as we would say, right, and commit to that. So the idea was, let's give and match that need and those people to it, and look at it that way. Over the past few years, though, I think the fractional executive term has expanded quite greatly,
exactly.
And can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think getting it back to its root for us is what's key, and what it isn't sometimes explains it more. It's not just advisory. It's not consultative. We're not writing white papers, right, in the ivory towers. We're there doing. We've been there, done that. There's a reason I look this way, the scars and the loss of hair, because we've been in the trenches, lost it on purpose, right? And through that, it's bringing those elements to this in a real way and delivering it, not just talking about it.
Right.
And that's what we found, right, is that there's so many people out there that are at that level in their career and they want to do that. The other thing I noted when we started this was there's something I call the glass floor. And it's weird, right? Once you've had that level of experience and that title and that role, and then you say, well, heck, I want to go back to what I did. I want to go back to my root of what got me there, and I want to apply the skills in AI. I want to apply the technical and change capabilities that I did. We're told no. We're told, no, you are already there. You have to take one of those other roles at that title. We're not going to let you go backwards because we don't believe you. We think you're going to do it and not like it.
Right.
And that's tough. And that's where I think we've tried to say, hey, we've got this offering to people, right? And I think that's what's different about it.
Absolutely. So, in a fractional perspective, what I'm seeing is, fractional CTO, fractional CIO, fractional this, fractional that.
Yep.
Even from my perspective in AI, fractional chief AI officer or fractional AI governance officer, for those small to mid-sized businesses that really, don't need a full-time guy and can't support it. And also for those larger organizations that don't have that skill set available and need someone to come in and hit the ground running. So are you finding that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's exactly where the niche is the idea of I'm a company, oftentimes a growth company looking to expand an area, drive an area, and I need that expertise. I need somebody to help me develop, define, execute, and operate on this vision and approach. But can I afford a full-time person? Maybe not. Do I need a full-time person? And to be honest, that's kind of where a lot of this comes from, is that a lot of times you don't. You may, and when we say full-time, we don't mean, it's always like 30, 40% of the time. It could be 100% of the time, but maybe only for a limited time frame, like 6 months. I'll give you an example of one. We had one company that came to us and they needed a chief security officer, but specifically they needed it with government experience and background, very specific. Why? They had just sold their first government contract, right, as a technology company. And the government came back and said, hey, we need this form, your 24-43 and whatever. And they looked like, what did we just get ourselves into? They were like the dog that chased the car, caught it, and didn't know what to do with it, right? But they didn't need somebody full-time for that because they already had somebody that was their technology lead, right? But they needed to supplement it with somebody that could own that, drive that, answer those questions, and get there for them. But again, hiring somebody full-time for that, they only needed it until they got over that hump.
Right.
And so what we did is we brought in somebody that had that experience with the Fed, and we're able to give them the advice, put the actual things in motion, build the processes, the technology, and the structure. So again, not just advise it, but do it.
Right.
Find the right people and help train and bring them on, and then ease their way out, right? But that's a great example of it. You may not need it full-time. It may be only transitional to help you get through one of those type of high areas. Or again, it may just not be economical to your sense of having that. But why make it that hurdle? Why make it so that the only way you can get that is you have to do it the traditional way? Right. You have to go through 8 months, which, by the way, hiring an executive, it's 6 to 8 months right now to get through all the rigmarole, the process, the interviews, the screening. Then all of a sudden, 6 to 8 months, and now the person's on board, but let's give him 4 more months to get his feet under him and understand what's going on and start getting. That's a whole year. You needed the person on day one.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have asked for the person,
exactly.
Right? So how do we get you quickly? And that's the idea.
So in essence, you really shorten that cycle to get somebody on board. And
immensely.
It would really be a strategic move for a company to say, hey, I need this person within the next 2 to 4 weeks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And someone that can hit the ground running. And then where do they go? What's I know Act Digital has this practice, but what's unique about the Act Digital practice for fractional?
And that's a great question, because otherwise, what's the difference? Anybody can do this through independent or anything else. What we pride ourselves on is our network of individuals, people like yourselves that we know, we've curated, we've worked together, we know what they're going to do and what they can and can't do on day one, right? And the speed, like you said, our average turnaround time for the moment I get a phone call saying, hey, I need help, we've already got candidates within 3 to 5 days in front of them, right? Now, when they start, how they start is still up to the project, the timing, right. But because we have that curated network, we already know what those matches are, and we're going to work with our clients to really understand what that need is to make sure we're getting the right person in that role as quick as possible. And on average, within those first people we get, it's usually about an 80% hit rate on those are the right people, and they're moving forward. So I think that's one of the biggest differentiators. We kind of call ourselves the unicorn hunters in general, whether it be fractional or in our contract work, right? Helping people find those people. We're not out there just casting a wide net, hoping to catch somebody that happens to be walking by. We're spearfishing in our network. And it's through that I think that's the real differentiator. And then the second part is we stand by it. We aren't just putting people in these roles and walking away, which a lot of companies honestly will do. They'll help you find it, staff it, and then say, okay, that's up to you. You guys work it out. Right. We actually are there, as you know, helping to back it, helping to make sure everything runs smoothly, being that extra source. And if you do need help, and something that our resource needs or otherwise in our network, we're going to bring that to the table as well. So it's not just the one-on-one, it's the one-to-many that we also offer.
That's great. So when an organization brings in a fractional executive from Act Digital, they're not just bringing in that one individual, they bring in the whole ecosystem right behind them.
Exactly.
And that makes a huge difference. It gives the client a lot of comfort and confidence that this is going to work out well. And also what I see is that these, when you do traditional consulting, it's a lot of times we don't get into roll up our sleeves, so to speak.
Exactly.
But we know we like to in this pool of people, we like to roll up our sleeves.
Yeah, we're a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can lead, and we can also get in the trenches and make it work.
Exactly.
And so you need someone from that soup to nuts sort of perspective. And let me just take a step back and just from my own experience, one of the things that I find as a AI governance person,
Yep.
right? We can develop the AI governance plan and policies and things like that, but that's only the beginning.
Exactly.
Once you decide you want to do this and we have it, we don't walk away. Okay, now we got to operationalize this.
Bingo.
Right? Because what's good as this, on paper, you're just going to put it on the shelf or put it in your drive, your electronic drive somewhere.
Yeah.
No, we want to make this actionable. That's when we roll up our sleeves as the experts, partnering with your company.
Exactly.
To make this real and to pass on. I'm a big knowledge management guy, so we pass on that knowledge to the organization so they can continue to evolve and run it as it moves forward, but also be that organization on the side. Say, hey, if you need additional help, additional things as you evolve this, we're here to help you get to meet those hurdles and challenges.
And that's what I love is you can hear the passion in yourself, right? As being somebody who's done it, everything you're mentioning, right? You've done it for years with companies that we've had you with and working through exactly that. You just mentioned the entire end-to-end sweet sauce is that it's not just about, hey, here's the blueprint that I did at 5 other places, whatever, or here it is tailored a little bit to you. No, we're rolling up our sleeves. We're doing it. We're there. And I love the fact you mentioned about the knowledge transition, right?
Exactly.
Because we all know this, that just putting it in front of someone's hands and even putting the tools or whatever in place, if you don't enable, what is it, the help a man to catch a fish, teach him to catch a fish rather than give him the fish.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then it all falls apart anyway.
Exactly. And that's to me, that's the funny thing. Because, we had, back in the day, consulting companies traditionally, got the reputation of, okay, we can show you how to do it, but we're not going to do it.
No, but I'll show it to you as a shiny object.
Right.
Here it is.
Exactly.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
You want this? I'll give it to you. Pay me. I'll give it to you.
Right.
Oh, and I'll even tailor it, which means I'll slap your logo on it. I'll make it a little shiny and tailor it a little bit. And we used to call that best practice, right? And say, hey, this is what it is. But isn't really best practice taking it, operationalizing it, being responsible for the ROI? That's another one, right?
Exactly.
Many of our roles, we are actually on the hook for a P&L or some subset of the success of this program.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's not just, I'm only getting success based on you agree and you pay me, right? It's I'm successful if this works, if it implements, if I learn to transition it effectively and make it so that you can operationalize this day over day. That's what we're looking at, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times the organization will ask you, okay, can you determine what the metrics we should be capturing?
Oh man, absolutely.
What's the key KPI, key performance indicators?
Mm-hmm.
And then we also work with the organization to make sure that you meet those.
Exactly. Hold it accountable.
Right. It's holding not only the exec that comes in to help accountable, but the partnership and everybody else here accountable.
Exactly.
That way you give them ownership. We giving you ownership of this. This is your stuff.
Exactly.
We coming here to help you make this a reality. And so from an AI perspective, what we're hearing and what we're seeing in the industry is that, there's a lot of AI projects and in play, but a lot of them don't even succeed.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And if more companies deploy this type of model, we will help ensure the right AI application or solution is being built, and we'll make sure that it succeeds. But see, a lot of companies don't. When you say, okay, I want to do an AI, I want to make sure I'm using this new shiny toy the right way. There's a lot of things you need to do, and I always look from a holistic perspective and saying, okay, we need a strategy to say what AI are we using, why are we using it, what's the business objective that it is satisfying.
Yes.
And then from there you can shop and say, okay, what use cases do
Yes.
we need? And is there a business use for these use cases?
And it has to be.
And it has to be.
Right.
I've talked to a lot of developers. I say, you ask a developer what they want to do, they want to develop.
Yeah. I'll make shiny code.
Yeah, they'll do whatever they want to do, but does it have any business value?
Yes.
And so that's where we come in and say, hey, we want to match it to the business value. And then you say, okay, we know what we want, we know why, we know the use cases, but you also want to have what I call the rules of engagement.
Yep.
And that's the governance and policy around that to
Yep.
say, okay, I always say there's no AI governance without data governance. So it's all that infrastructure stuff.
It has to be there first.
It has to be there first. And people say, well, the AI is not working, it's giving me bad answers. I said, it's not just the AI. What does your data look like?
Yeah. You can't give it poor data, train it on erroneous information, and expect magic to happen. It doesn't do that. Well, not yet.
But I bet it's trying to get there.
I was going to say, it's trying to get there.
Right.
It's trying to learn from itself. But I mean, that's it. And I've had the similar to you is that I've had clients where I'm helping them in their technology journey and everything else. And exactly what you said is everybody, I used to harken back to when cloud came out.
Yeah.
Right? And I won't name the company, but I had a major Fortune 500 company, same to me, CEO, called me up and said, hey, I heard about this cloud stuff. I need to get some cloud. And I went, what exactly do you mean? He goes, no, my board of directors is all up on me that we need to get on this cloud stuff and I need a cloud plan. I need this. I go, same question. That's fine. The technology is there. Obviously, I can help you with that. Why? What is your purpose? What is your goal? What are your outcomes? How do you know those are achievable and the right ones? Then we'll back in and decide the technology mix, right?
Exactly.
And define, do you mean cloud SaaS? Do you mean cloud off-premise storage? Do we mean, there were so many ways back then, right? And still are. It's the same with the AI and it's every tech, right?
Yeah.
This is a similar cycle we see in businesses.
Absolutely.
I hear the latest buzzword. I find something that could be of value, but I'm not putting the structure around it to maximize the value out of it in a strategic way, right?
Absolutely.
And I love that you said even about determining which one to use. I can't tell you how many people, right? They look at it and go, well, this one's the same as this one. And we know not necessarily.
Right.
It depends on that business use case. What are you trying to get out of it? And structuring it in the right way and feeding it the right information is what's going to make it successful.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where I would ask you, I feel like that's where a lot of clients are failing is that they say, well, this thing's not doing what I want it to do. And you step back and say, well, that's because it didn't start right.
It didn't start right. And use perspective is doing exactly what you envision. But there's a lot of other things that come into this.
Yep.
If it's like you said, if it's accessing data that has not been curated or in the right format or old data, anything like that. If your data house is not in order, it's not accessing what I call the records of the more valuable records that are being used or information being used on a day-to-day basis, and you know that to be reliable and the source of truth and source of record.
Yep.
If you're not using that or using repositories that are that for your business, you're using something else or a mixture of those two, then that is going to be an issue as far as if bad data in, bad decisions out. And so that's the other understanding. And the other thing that comes to mind, when we come into an organization and they start asking us questions about what they can do, and you look at the environment, some discovery has to happen. Yeah. They don't realize all the connective tissue.
Yes.
And I always try to lay out, okay, this is how all these things are connected.
Yep.
And this is where we are. Okay. And now we need not only our understanding of these other pieces, but who are the people we need to bring into this?
Absolutely.
To make sure we understand it. Yeah.
And it's still outcome based.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just put something in, look, it made a report for me. In fact, when you mentioned about the source of truth, I'll give you a story that I just dealt with recently. A client used AI against a data source to come up with a pretty complex element of calculation for their business and came out with a rating. And they kept looking at it going, but that just doesn't, logically, we all done this, that just doesn't seem directional. Right. It's not way off, but it's missing it enough that I'm like, something's right. When we went back and looked at it, they believed that a piece of data they were getting from one of their third-party applications meant this, because that's what it was titled in the data table, right? It meant this. But after looking at it, that's not what that data was. It was something completely different. And it's not that it was mislabeled. That's just how that third-party app labeled it, right? And they made an assumption that meant what they meant. And come to find out, it was the wrong data element. So it still was accurate data, wasn't wrong. It still was properly there, curated, real time, most accurate. It just wasn't the right data for the analyst to take into account for what they wanted done. And I think that's your point about laying it all out, is I think people jump to it and say, well, I'm just going to feed it a bunch of data and it'll give me the answer. Even in companies, I've had the case where I've had 5 departments, large departments, all with the same internal term for a metric. And I went to each one and each one calculated it differently.
Wow.
And I could not at the C-suite table get any one of them to agree. So then I finally got them to can we just tweak your label so that this is Tony's version of that data versus Bosco's version? Can we at least do that so that we don't all get confused when we're passing the data around with the same label, but it means something completely different to who's looking at it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, where people think of that and aren't thinking of it in the AI world, is they're not recognizing that it can't assume those things. It can't jump to those type of conclusions and understand that and find those. It's just taking what it's given. You told it what to do, and it's filling in that gap.
Wow, that's a horror story, kind of. But
well, luckily we caught it.
Yeah, and that just reminded me from a data perspective as an information architect.
Yeah,
one of the hurdles we go through, and if you utilizing supervised learning, where actually you're looking at how the data is labeled.
Yes,
and in information architecture, we look at the consistency across different databases, not only relational or different from content to just other structured data. We also look at unstructured data to see if those things match, the meanings match, and if it's different meanings, tweak it. To your point, tweak it to show some differentiation. Yeah, because if your whole data house, you have structured, you have unstructured, you have semi-structured.
Exactly.
And so you want to. What we call which I don't like this term as much, but a canonical data model, or a common data model to kind of bring them all together and reconcile the terms. Yes. To your point, that's just, to me, that just ring a bell, because in information architecture we try to reconcile the terms between all like types of data. As far as what you calling, if I'm calling a policy number in the database as one thing, and calling a policy number in a piece of content something else, and we try to use AI with that data, we have to reconcile to make sure if what I'm calling a policy number is the same thing this other guy's calling a policy number.
And it's what I love what you just said about the canonical was, again, old school, raise the terms, right? But the information mapping, all of this new thing does not replace the basics. The 101s still have to be there, right? Yeah. To understand your informational data, understand what it means, what it doesn't mean, what it represents, understand the data relations you're talking about, right? Where did it come from? Where's its source? What's its root? What's its derivative? What is it saying? To me, those are still the basics that can't be replaced yet, right? And they're augmented, is the other way to put it. As we stated, AI is an accelerator, an augmenter, a speed to solution, but there's still those core things that you got to do.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention that, because it seems like the errors that are happening with AI, to your point, it's almost like software development 101. Some things we just haven't, have went away from. Yeah. Because I always look at, okay, was it tested? Did it go through a series of testing that you go through? In AI, we also have to train the algorithm on the data. And then going back to our data example, making sure that all that data is consistent, and consistent naming and understanding as you train the algorithm on that data. It's all these steps, all these things that you would normally do, that then to say, okay, we've tested it, it's been trained and tested it, we went through a lot of different scenarios. Now we are ready to, put it in production or release it.
And why are we skipping that? Why do we think we can skip it?
Right, exactly.
Right? I'm still talking to everybody about SDLC, right? This plain old service delivery lifecycle: plan, analyze, test, build, right? Deploy. Right. However term you want to use it. You want to call it Scrumfall, Waterfall, Water Scrumfall, whatever you want to call it, right? RAD, Rapid Application Design and Development. Oh, wow. Whatever you want to do. Hey, I'll spit them all out.
Yeah, these terms, it's like when we was doing RAD, all of a sudden that narrow path approach,
Yes.
to get it a slice in to get the key learnings and
Get
understand
something out of it
Right,
quick,
exactly.
right? And group them back in, test and learn, A, B, validation. These are still the principles that are sound.
Absolutely.
And you're right that what we're seeing is too many people either don't understand it or they feel that they can skip those. Well, why? Even if you build out a model, an AI or anything of that matter, you still need to test it. Like I just mentioned, if they hadn't tested and validated and looked at the data in that case that I gave you, they could have made business decisions
Right.
on what they saw because they assumed, of course it's right. I prompted it. Why are you assuming it? Validate it, test it, go back through the system, take a pause, and make sure everything's correct. Well, again, there are fundamental principles that I don't think have changed,
Right.
but we're too often trying to leap to it. And by the way, it's not like I'm saying slow it all down. I'm just saying be judicious in understanding why you're doing something and why not, and make sure you're considering the right things along the path. That's all.
Yeah, and so people need to stop confusing that with speed to delivery.
Yeah.
You can deliver crap
Really
Is
fast.
Is that what you want?
Really fast.
Yeah.
And I'll give it to you.
And or you'll say, well, security was not my concern with this. We weren't really looking at security. It's up to the the other department, the CISO, to take a look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you all that's baked in.
It has to be inherent in what you do and how you do it in your discipline every day, right? And I think that goes back to all the way back to what we're talking about with the years of experience, right? The 25, 30 plus years of
Absolutely.
experience, being able to know those things and know how they apply and where they don't. There's certain things that we do need to abandon.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't apply in this new world. They don't apply as it, but you got to be willing to cut those, but you got to know which ones to cut and which ones not to.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, where that experience level truly comes in to be able to apply it and take what you're learning as the new, and even you are defining as the new, right? And look at the old and say, well, where's the marriage between the two? What really shakes out as the source of truth in our fundamentals that we're going to apply versus, let's just see how it goes. Let's just put it out there and see if it sticks.
We got it out the market. We're out the market first,
And we've all been part of that, right? We've all been part of somebody that said, I don't care, just get something out there.
Right.
And that's okay as long as we all are in agreement that is the metric that we're going for. Speed, not quality, or return on investment, or whatever other KPI. Okay.
Because that can sink your company.
It really can, and we've all seen it before.
Yeah, exactly. Those fast, quote unquote, we're streamlining stuff to get it done. Thank you for joining us. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for our second part of our conversation with Chris Bosco, where we dive into executive leadership and fractional executive opportunities, and how we explore AI as well as other fractional executive roles. Looking forward to the conversation.